The time is now 6:18, and I'd like to call this meeting to order on the date of January 12th, 2023. Roll call. Valpua. Here. Brown.
Here.
Rudolph.
Here.
Abiana here. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And at this time, we have a swearing in of Trustee Brown, and I'll hand this over to Superintendent Beal.
Okay, well, welcome back, Ms. Brown. We're glad you have recovered from your surgery and have joined us back here. So at the December 5th meeting, we had, a reorganization meeting. And so you are here in person to take your oath because you were reelected to serve on the Board of Trustees. I believe you have someone that you would like to utilize in the swearing in. Okay. So yes, Mr. Ali, if you would join Ms. Brown up at the podium.
I believe you should raise your right hand
Mhm.
and repeat after me. I, Marion Brown,
I, Marion Brown,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservations
without any mental reservations
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And may I say, Mr. Ali, that was very well done in terms of breaking down the parts that Ms. Brown had to read in sitting through some reorganization meetings. It was, I felt bad for some of the trustees who had to remember all of that. So thank you.
Well, congratulations, Trustee Brown. Looking forward to this. I guess we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. May I have a motion and a second?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And public comment. Do we have any public comments, Superintendent Beal?
I have not received them.
Okay.
Yes. It looks like we have one public comment.
Great. That's wonderful.
Thank you. So, Mr. Ali.
Thank you, Superintendent Veal, President Abiana, and the rest of the board. I just want to take a brief moment to congratulate Marion Brown, who's also my mother, on her installation here today. And it's been a journey for her. She's going to stay humble, I'm sure, but this has been quite a struggle and a journey for her in this district. She ran for board years ago and it didn't pan out. And so now, from my understanding, she was actually approached about running for the board. So this is where she's supposed to be. And I'm just so glad to see her here and that she has wonderful colleagues to work with and help make things better here in Bayshore and just improve on the great work that you all have started. And so thank you for this opportunity as well to speak. And this is my first time ever administering the oath of office for someone. So thank you once again and congratulations.
Great. Thank you. All right, we'll move to item number 5, consent items. May I have a motion and a second to approve consent items?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And item number 6, educational services, approval of the 21-22 school accountability report card. I'd like to hand this over to Superintendent Veal.
Thank you. So every year, the school accountability report card is something that districts complete and send to the CDE after board approval. And it is a summary of our district, the students we serve, the programs we have in place, our data over the years. What is attached to the board agenda is a SARC report that is incomplete, but it is incomplete because the CDE is in the process of updating a new system through which districts will be able to utilize their reporting service to align their SARC information to the data, and the CDE has not updated that yet. So what districts are being told is to get approval of the SARC document that has the portions of the document that the LEA is responsible for reporting. And so that is what is included in the attachment. Once the CDE has updated their website, we will be able to align this document with our data. I will come back to the board to present the complete data. Just for your information, it will not need to go through another approval process in order to meet the February 1st deadline of reporting to the CDE. So I ask that you approve this school accountability report card as is, with the understanding that the CDE data needs to still be included, and you'll see that there are portions that don't account for the number of credentialed teachers we have, our SBAC data, et cetera. So it is incomplete. I want to say that again. But we have gotten the okay from the county office and CDE to approve this to meet the February 1st deadline, and then to circle back when we have a completed SARC report.
Okay.
I just have one something to add or maybe consider under this description, school overview description. Bayshore has ethnically diverse population of approximately 380 students in grades K to 8, including students from the Philippines, Samoa, Mexico, Central America, and China. Okay, so Samoa, let me just give you, Samoa is, there's two Samoa. There's American Samoa and there's Samoa. So I think we should leave it open as, say, Pacific and some islands of the Pacific, because then that will open up to, we don't have to literally name individuals, but it's already, it's counted. It's, you know, it's, because some of the children here are not from Samoa, they're from American Samoa. So we just had to be courtesy on that part right there, please.
Thank you. Could you repeat what you have suggested that the edit reflect?
Some islands of the Pacific or Pacific islands, islanders. then that's abroad for
Mhm.
Kind of like
later
all
on. Yeah,
encompassing.
it's umbrella to everybody. For later on, if we have any more ins, new ins, or that it's already counted there. But if we say one island, Samoa, which is not right, there's two Samoas there.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Okay. At this time, I request approval for 2021-22 school accountability report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right. Number 8, business and fiscal services. A resolution 22-6 certifying that results of the successful partial tax election. I'd like to hand that over to Superintendent Veal.
Okay, thank you. And if I may, with your permission, read the abstract that was provided by the county auditor. So the district has received the official election results from the San Mateo County Elections official, confirming the successful November 8th, 2022 election, extending the district's parcel tax, Measure M, under state law. The district, that was a period, Measure M. Under state law, the district must undertake the routine action of officially entering the election results in its board's minutes by way of this resolution, and to direct the county auditor to include the levy on upcoming tax rolls. The resolution is adopted by a majority vote of the board. So we would engage in a vote from the board to officially pass this resolution.
I want to open this up for any comments or questions to the board. Does anyone have any comments or questions?
Just a quick comment. Based on the vote, I'd just like to thank the community for supporting the students of this district.
Yes, it's very important, and I think we should have ongoing conversations about this, because Bayshore, the majority of the voters that we have here in Bayshore are our seniors. Those are the faithful voters that we have in this community, and they really help to make this happen, this measure. So it's maybe down the line, maybe we should do something special for our seniors, in the community, in collaboration with the Park and Recs, from the district. It's a way of giving back to our seniors and our elders.
Great. Thank you. So we take a vote. All in favor of resolution 22-06 certifying the results of the partial tax election, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that was unanimous. Thank you. And we have item 8B, board approval of the legal services agreement between BESD and DWK. I'll turn this over to Superintendent Veal.
Okay, thank you. So it is not uncommon for districts to partner with law firms to support with the issues that arise in leading a district. We currently have a main contract with County Council, and I've discussed support that I've received from County Council with regard to our special education services, which has been very well received in terms of the training and updating in our understanding of legal ramifications of special education. So this agreement that I have presented to you is an agreement with Dennis Walliver Kelly, Greg Danis is a well-respected and well-known negotiations attorney. I have worked with him in my prior capacity as principals in both San Carlos and Hillsborough, and have served on negotiation teams with him under his leadership, and have learned a great deal. But I have not facilitated negotiations, and feel that in order to best serve our community and our staff and our unions, it is important to make sure that our negotiations go as well as they should. And so I'm asking that you approve this professional services agreement with DWK so that Mr. Danis himself can assist in our negotiations for the 2023 year.
President, who did we have before this?
I believe Dr. Pittman would consult with county council for the creation. I know that she consulted most recently with county council when our paraeducators wanted to unionize and received county council support with that. But given my knowledge and the expertise of Mr. Danis, I'm wanting to be able to extend that support to this law firm.
Who will cost more?
That's a great question. I would probably DWK, because county council, I hear, has fewer billing hours per hour billing. In this agreement, it does indicate if the, let me see, if a shareholder, let's see, it does under fees and billing practices on page 3 outline the per hour cost depending on the support they receive, whether it's a paralegal that provides the support or an associate, special counsel, etc. So depending on who supports us and what work is done, that cost will vary, but I don't have a comparative with the county.
Can we table this until we had a comparison with the county? Or does it need to be approved today?
Well, this isn't an exclusionary. We could still, you
Use
could
the
still
council.
use the county council if there's a.
Correct.
So
Mhm.
this is just adding an additional tool to the toolbox.
Yeah, but we don't need another tool. We gotta use the tool that we have. Unless it's no longer, then we remove that tool out and replace it with another tool.
Well, if it's a better tool. I mean, that's what my understand, based on what you were
Based on the
saying,
negotiations.
my interpretation of what you said, and so correct me if I'm wrong, is
Mhm.
these folks or individuals within this organization specialize in negotiations.
Correct.
So if we are going into a negotiation, and only then you would probably defer to DWK.
Okay, right.
Correct.
And only use them where needed, not on just.
Not everything in general,
So it's
just
just,
for negotiations primarily, correct?
But didn't the county was doing that too? Isn't that part of their job too? Do you guys remember?
With regards to negotiations,
Yes.
no. With
Are you
regards,
sure, Rick?
They have been used for
They have.
negotiations. Yes, they, sorry.
well, I've figured Dennis Kelly, if we, if we're going to take a step up and go with a firm that is more concentrated on negotiations, and I feel like it would be to our benefit.
well, let me also, so you're concerned about cost.
Well, not only that is, I'd rather put the money in something else than spending on this.
Well, there is no retainer fee, if I read this correctly. We don't have to pay them a retainer fee. Is that correct?
There is.
Oh, there is? Did I miss that part?
I mean, all those are going to be considered hidden fees. We will be slapped with it afterwards.
Because when I was reading it, it just seemed to be an hourly fee.
Yeah. I don't see a retainer.
And you're proposing utilizing this firm because of their specialty, their expertise.
Correct. Just personal experience and the fact that Greg Danis works up or throughout the state and
Nationally.
nation,
Right, nationally.
and is consulted on for many. I'm not going to say it. It would be say he's the only negotiations lawyer, but I am confident in his ability and his experience, and feel that we would get the top quality, I guess.
Who's our attorney right now? Is that the county?
Yeah,
Currently,
county
yeah.
council.
Well, can we have the county set a pair of eyes to look at this? None of us sitting over here is a lawyer or have any specialty in this field. Can we have somebody else to even look at it?
Is there, mhm.
So is your request to table this
Yeah.
item? Like to get approval of the board to
Can I,
table?
may I
I'm sorry, go
ask,
ahead.
sorry, what additional information would you like to have to either approve being
What
able to
I'm
work
hearing
with
is
this,
because-
or?
No, what I'm hearing is because you have a personal relationship with and you know him personally or this firm personally. I don't. None of us don't. And I can't just take one word, and all that is good on papers and everything right now until I do more research on it, or maybe having another set of eyes just to look at it if it's necessary for us to have it.
So are you asking for there to be a third-party review of this
Yeah.
contract?
Yes.
And what do you want them to review? The legality of it, or?
That too. And even for a small district, do we need to have, a one particular avenue for negotiation when we already have help and resources from the county that we can utilize on it?
So is the question you're asking, what's the purpose of acquiring another attorney other than the county?
Correct.
Okay. So if we can just, what we'll do is we'll table this. If I can get the board approval to table this item. All in favor?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, item number 9, school reports. A community schools planning grant update. I'd like to turn this over to Superintendent Veal.
Okay, so I want to begin with a little bit of a review of some current grants that we have and their relation to the community schools planning grant that we successfully submitted. So we currently are involved in 3 different rounds of a K-12 workforce grant, rounds 3, 4, and 5. So round 3 was around bringing connections with green sustainability. So we have Sarah Pape, who worked with the county office and got access to pilot a few modules of instruction related to science. That then started the desire to see if those modules could also somehow serve to move down the path of creating a CTE connection with Jefferson Union High School District. Round 5 of the K-12 workforce grant was to apply for a grant to have a CTE coordinator. And the idea of the CTE coordinator would be to create pathways with community organizations that would align to CTE pathways at our Jefferson Union High School District, which is the larger feeder. We are a feeder district to Jefferson Union High School District. And the idea is that the CTE grant would expand our after-school options to our students, as well as enrich our elective offerings. And the idea of this alignment would create a stronger transition opportunity for our students who chose to attend Jefferson Union High School District high schools. That CTE coordinator also had the responsibility to be a lead in applying for round, did I get my rounds right? 3, 4, 5, round 5 or round 6 of the K-12 workforce grant, which is the community schools grant. So this CTE coordinator has the responsibility of facilitating our electives and the alignment with the CTE pathways, and also in creating and submitting the grant. So the CTE coordinator that we have worked very closely with Principal Baker and a SMCOE coordinator by the name of Ruby McCarrig, who really took a huge lead in getting us all together to submit the grant. So we have successfully submitted the grant. We won't know if we receive the grant until May. But what the grant will allow us to do, and I'm just going to read a little bit from part of our submission, is to focus on impacting 4 major areas in the school and community. Those areas are to promote continuous, secure, and trusting relationships across systems, and those systems are both school site and community. Staffing to support infrastructure for school climate and culture, academic skill development, and integrated student and family support services. Create a robust and high quality expanded learning opportunities, so that's after school opportunities. And to focus on the physical, mental, and emotional health systems and structured, currently developed, and strengthening already existing work that we're doing in our multi-tier systems of support. So it is a very important grant that we are hoping to get. And we're very excited about the collaborative work that happened between the coordinator, who is Mr. Ali, actually, Principal Baker, and Ms. McCarrig at the county office. So everyone keep your fingers crossed that this is something that we will get. If we do get it, it will actually be able to highlight, this CTE work that we're doing, but it also could leverage ACES and ELOP monies. And we have an ACES discussion in this
Sure.
board agenda as well. So just kind of to recap, the community schools work is all about preparing our youth, our children, to transition successfully into high school. It is not needed in order to do our CTE work but it would help to expand what we're able to offer our students and really enrich our community connections and how those connections support our students and families. So, as I said, keep your fingers crossed, and I will keep you posted for how that goes. Are there any questions?
Does the board have any questions with regards to this item? Great, thank you for the update on that.
You're welcome.
And then we have item 9B, LCAP goals update.
Okay, and Mr. Dyson, if you would follow me as we get this rolling. Okay. Uh-huh. All right, so this is our LCAP update. So updates are provided on our LCAP process, progress throughout the year. This is the first one that I'm providing in this kind of context where I'm going to focus on two particular goals. So the next slide gives us the overview of our LCAP goals. We have a school connectedness goal. We have a general academic goal. We have a focus academic goal, and we have a maintenance goal. And then it's in the order as they appear. So the school connectedness focuses on our SEL development and our healthy and positive school culture. The academics in general is with regard to our student achievement in all areas of instruction. The focus academic goal is specific to reading. And then the basic services is to make sure that we are continuing to provide a safe and a safe environment that is accessible to all and helps to support our learning. So tonight I want to focus on progress in the school connectedness goal and the focus academic goal. So the next slide shows that there's a section in our LCAP where we have to report baseline and then each end of year outcome. And the LCAP is designed as a three-year plan. And so the purpose of it being a three-year plan is so that we stay consistent with our focus and we are able to build on the work of the previous years in order to reach the outcome that we desire. So as you see, by the end of the 23-24 school year, we are expecting 75% of our students to be at or above grade level reading expectations. The baseline that was established for the creation of this goal was that at that time, so in 2018-19, 11% of our population K-8 was exceeding standards and 45% were at or near standard in reading. Now, that it's important to unpack that statement, at or near. Near means they are not at grade level, but that they are close to being at grade level. So that when we are disaggregating our data and having grade level focused discussions around student progress, oftentimes a strategy is to look specifically at the areas where those students are very close to being at grade level and seeing what kind of strategies that are being used or need to be implemented in order to make them move to that next level, because the thinking is that the chances are that that growth can happen in the amount of time. Those students who are below, whether that be a year or more, those often fall into needing more strategic support, often referred to as intervention support. And so it's not that our approaches to their success or development are ignored and moved only towards the ones that are near, but rather that we approach those needs differently in the additional tiers of support that we have established.
And just what grade levels are included in this data?
So SBAC is only grades 3 through 5.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Thank you for pointing that out. So I was reading the baseline for SBAC. Thank you. iReady reading is K8, and Fountas and Pinnell is K8. So as you see, as you are hearing me say that 11% exceeded standard and 45% exceeded standard, that was just the 3rd through 5th graders in 2018-19. Now, the data for the SBAC was just released in December, I believe, for last year's 3rd through 5th graders, and those are not reflected. Those students are not reflected in 18-19 because we also paused in 2020, the 19-20. Yeah. So, well, actually, the 3rd graders would be 5th graders in last year's. So that is something to consider, because when you do year to year and grade, not grade level, but student data comparisons through the year, we won't be able to do that with each cohort because of the break and to account for the pandemic, the reality that the pandemic had. What I'd like you to do before we move on to the next slide, so don't go anywhere yet, what this exercise, and by exercise I mean this presentation, showed me is that there was some responsibility that I put on myself for needing to have done this data dive sooner than January. I'm not going to make excuses. But what this data dive showed me, and in my subsequent conversations with Principal Baker, and just in getting to have an understanding of what professional conversations we do have, we have a lot of great things happening, but there could be ways that we are a little bit more focused in some of the ways that some of what we're including in those conversations, right. And I'll get to that in a little bit. So the data that I'm going to show you on the subsequent slides have to do with reading and math proficiency based on iReady. So iReady is an assessment that's given around 3 times a year, and so in 2021, so at the end of last year, if we're just looking at the iReady reading proficiency, so at spring of 21-22, 36% of our students were reading at grade level. So that's K8, 36%. And I want you to hold on to that, because the next slide shows what the reality is of our current students. So our current students in the winter, so that this was taken, I believe this set the baseline for the school year. So this was the assessment that was done at the beginning of the school year, so around September. We, if you're seeing how the percentages are down at the bottom, of our 334 students, 303 were assessed, and we only have 8%. So 23 of those 303 students, K8, are reading at or above grade level. 33 students, so 11%, are showing early grade level performance. So that means that we have a large majority of our students who are 1 grade or more below the grade level expectation for their grade. That's what our students were showing us entering in. what my investigation then showed me, and I think actually, Trustee Rudolph, you raised this as a part of previous discussions that we've had, that we need to get better about our inputting data in the data programs that we have for analysis. Because when I went to look at the F&P data, there was inconsistent practice with submitting those grades. So if there's inconsistent practice in submitting the grades, we can't have ongoing and consistent conversations about student performance. So that's a conversation that I've started with Ms. Baker, and she's well aware that we need to get better in this area. So that's why I only have iReady data to show you. The next slide, although it's not part of a LCAP goal, I did want to show you our math iReady data again from the beginning of the school year. So we did have 10 more students, and I'm not sure why, but 10 more students who were assessed in math. But we have fewer students than in reading who are at or above grade level performance. And we have more students who are 1 or more grades below where we would expect them to be. So this is not good news. And it, as I said, was an important exercise for me to engage in, and really more just validated what I had planned to be the focus of our remaining school year in terms of how we're structuring the time that we have together as a staff to be looking at our student data.
A question real quick. With regards to inputting this data and the urgency level that we should have, what is something that we can prepare for to get that data inputted?
It's a great question. So many districts have what we call an assessment calendar. And that assessment calendar is presented at the beginning of the school year. And it talks about when our local assessments or district assessments are given and when our state assessments are given. And in some cases, some districts also have a plan about what formative assessment is taken. So kind of in the moment, how are you getting informed about students' progress day-to-day, formal and informal? And then the summative, meaning at the semester or at the year's time. We did not have one of those. So an initial one was created for this year. But again, this is where I will take some responsibility for the leadership in conveying the accountability behind making sure that we are getting the data in the formats that we have available to us at the moment, and then what we're doing with that data, how we're looking at it, and making sure that there are opportunities on Wednesdays to be having constructive conversations around that. I'm not saying there aren't those conversations going on, and some of our current practice is highlighted in the next couple slides that we'll get to, but I will say that there is improvement that we could be having.
Okay, thank you.
Is this data, excuse me, is this data also available by grade level?
Yes.
And the reason why I ask is I remember seeing a video, I believe through one of the CSBA classes, that spoke about the importance of students learning to be reading at grade level by the 3rd grade, and how statistically it gets much more challenging after that. So having that visibility would hopefully allow us to be tactical in utilizing whether it's LLI or whatever resources are available,
Yes.
tools to help boost that number.
Yes. So you'll notice if Mr. Dyson, if you could go back to the previous slide where we talk about thank you. So what's at the top of the slide are the domains that iReady assesses in. So we have a phonological awareness, phonics, high frequency word vocabulary, and comprehension domain. And then those domains are weighted differently as you go through the grade levels. and then the data is broken down similarly to what you see at the bottom, what the grade level performance is or below grade level performance is in each of those domains by grade level. And then we should have a practice of then taking formative data that will help us understand where each child is, and that's where the F&P data comes in. But I did not choose to highlight the F&P because there was inconsistent input into the resource we have. But if you will forward to slide 7, thank you. What we are doing is very important and very good work. We just need to add some elements to it. So currently in math, we do have some really, what I would say transformative things happening, but we're at the beginning stages of it. So this PDSA and there's a little visual on the side. It stands for Plan, Do, Study, Act. So it's a cycle of inquiry that is the focus of our work with our staff on Wednesdays. And our math leads, Ms. Heinrich and Ms. Pape, have done some really great work, both with the support of an SMCOE coordinator, but also through the SBMI, so that's the Silicon Valley Math Initiative, professional development, where there are lesson studies. So lesson study is a deep dive into the teaching of a certain area of your work, of the state standards, and then unpacking student performance and doing so in a collaborative way and including lesson observations. So there's a peer learning component. There is a facilitated data analysis aspect to it. And it's all related to our new math adoption resource, Illustrative Math. So I can say that work is important and very necessary and then on the right track of the work that we need to do, but there are some aspects to that could be added to meet the urgency that we have to change things. And in language arts, that we are a little bit, I would say if we're at a race and we've started at the same starting line, I would say math is a little bit more ahead of our work in ELA, partially because there isn't the same alignment K-8 in the resources that we use and the teaching practices that we have to cover the state standard expectations. New adoptions like curricular adoptions are helpful in that resource part, but it's really the conversations and knowledge base of the teachers around instructional practice that needs to be where the focus is. And so we have that conversation happening in some capacity, K-8 and ELA, but we don't necessarily have the aligned resources. So that is an area where we do need to improve. What we do have is, which is a very important aspect of our instructional practice development, is the support from people who are who have strong practices in certain areas. So we have an ELA coach who is a state professor, San Francisco State professor, who meets with our 4th through 8th grade language arts teachers to do some of the things that are listed on here. So differentiation, independent and whole group reading, how to understand a text and the reading strategies around more dense text, the aspect of small group reading, book clubs, etc. So that is important support that is happening, but more should be being done.
Are all these supports structured for during school hours?
Correct.
Is there any benefit for us to put any sort of resources towards outside of school hour supports?
For teachers?
Well, no, for students. I'm just thinking we've got like the number of students that are 2 or more grade levels behind, which is a significant number. And is there, and again, I don't know, but is there benefit to adding some sort of supports outside of the 8:30 to 3:30 hours that would accelerate them getting out of that deficit?
There's absolutely benefit.
So
Yes.
I'm just wondering though,
Saturday classes.
no, I mean, again, within, I know the no, but I mean, could we partner with Boys and Girls Club or some other
No.
thing that would help accelerate getting these kids out of that?
So I think there are things that we can do, and I think things like the community schools grant would help to facilitate those kind of focused, supportive after-school opportunities. I think Boys and Girls Club has an element to their program where they are supporting certain aspects of the curriculum, but I'm not going to say that we can't do something more.
And again, I don't know. Every family is different, but if there's resources that we could, or trainings for parents. I mean, obviously the children are in the district's custody for 8 hours a day, and then there's a lot of hours in the day that they're not within the school boundaries.
Correct.
And it's like, though, but I see that 2 or more grade levels back, and it's just like kills me.
Yes.
So how do we, try and escalate that, or not escalate it?
Address.
Address and have a-
Yeah. Yeah. No. There's definitely things we could do in the area of parent education. There are things that we can do. So it's complex and layered, right? So it's more than just looking at the numbers of the students. It's understanding which students those are and what the needs are that has brought us to seeing this performance. And it's an unpacking of do we know what those needs are? Do we have things in place to meet those needs? So it's and if we were to, not that we were, when Ms. Baker and I and the staff look at who makes up those numbers, we do have conversations around, okay, so do we understand who these kids are and why it is that they are performing this way, and what are things that we are doing that is working to make those incremental growth benchmarks that we want to see, and then what isn't working and why. Not everything is within our control.
Exactly.
Not everything is outside of our control, but it's really being very much on top of and aware of and consistent and accountable. Like it's all those things to make sure that we're doing everything that we can that's within our control or influence to move the needle. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
One of the things that I think there's a lot of access, like Shaquille and I have been talking about this, that the state is really acknowledging there are equity issues that have been a problem for a long time, but the pandemic really highlighted and in a huge way the equity issue around what happened during that 2-year window where the kids who had the parents at home who were reading with them, or the resources for tutoring, or any of those things came out of those 2 years in a much better place than the kids who didn't have those things. And we have English language learners, and to Mrs. Bill's point about really looking at who those kids are. And I can speak from, and any of the teachers can speak from their experience of watching kids on Zoom and seeing what is going on around them. you know what I mean? That really highlighted this need. And so there are a lot of resources that are becoming available, such as the Community Schools Grant, to provide not just enrichment, but also that availability of, exactly what you just said. It cannot be 8:30 to 3. Like, there has to be more, and it has to be equitable so that all children have access to those things. So like, that's very much tied into like what we're trying to do with this grant, and looking for other grants to see how we can support our kids in that way.
We also just brought up another good point with regards to the data set. And what would be interesting is to cross-reference the number of years each student has been in our district. Because, for instance, if a student, as you said, is an English language learner, just moved to this country, and we give them the iReady, it's like, obviously, they're going to test 2 grades or more below level. So is that really a valid metric to go by? No, because you know why that they're there. Versus a student that's been in our district for 2 or 3 years, and they're still 2 grades below grade level. Then, I guess to your point of like every student's individual, and we have to ask the question why, but just make sure that there's a higher level of visibility.
So the next slide talks more about the school connectedness goal. So as we've discussed at previous meetings, we have some important resources in place. So we have wellness counselors, and in that bullet, I'm including the school wellness counselor plus the mental health counselors that we have. We have a behavior support consultant, and we have a caring school community resource. I put program, but I really meant to put resource. What we're doing with those looks differently, but what I wanted to highlight are a couple of actions coming up. So we have a TESOL team, and the TESOL stands for what? Transformational social emotional learning. Thank you. And it's basically those resources listed up there. So it's everyone who has a position that has to deal with mental health or social emotional development on the team. And if you remember in prior conversations, whether it be this year or in previous years, we have what we call theories of action. And theories of action highlight very specific responsibilities from admin to staff to students about what we want students to be able to demonstrate and how we support the development of that skill set in each area. So we have a language arts theory of action, we have a math theory of action, and we need an SEL theory of action. And so we've started that process by utilizing some of the aspects of the Caring Schools community programming to start to get some real life data about the social emotional development of our students. And so the staff implemented a student climate survey. And I'd like to highlight the fact that our school wellness counselor, Mr. Patel, has been doing some really important professional development with the Caring Schools community consultants so that he can be an expert resource as we dive into bringing an understanding and building capacity of our staff. So one aspect is to get a baseline survey, and the student climate survey is currently being reviewed by our TESOL team. And actually, the TESOL team led, my understanding, a very successful staff exercise yesterday around sharing the results of this survey and getting input about what we want to be able to see a student be able to demonstrate in terms of their social emotional development when they exit.
Just to clarify,
Bayshore.
so the student climate survey was a survey given to students?
Correct.
Would it be possible for the board to get a copy of the survey? Not the results, but just what questions were asked of the
Sure.
students?
The objective is to be able to provide a similar climate survey to parents and to staff. So that is forthcoming, but we wanted to start with students. And so the TESOL team has started to disaggregate that data, and they used Wednesday, so yesterday, and will be using an upcoming professional development day on the 23rd to start to build the theory of action. And in the meantime, between those two dates, members of the TESOL team are going to be meeting individually with each staff member to conduct what we call empathy interviews around what do they see as critical needs of our students, and what are some outcomes that we should be aiming towards, and what are some areas of weakness that we need support in. Very general. That was a very general overview of that. So with the data, the empathy interviews, and the professional development that will be with Caring Schools community, we are, I think, at a strong beginning point of starting to be very intentional about how we support SEL development of our students. With that beginning, and what one purpose of the PD serves is an introduction into the Caring Schools community curriculum. So I'm saying it's curriculum, it's a resource. It's not something that we're just going to open and read from. It's really something that I hope that we are very intentional about understanding what the needs of our students are presenting, and using this curriculum as a baseline of how to facilitate conversations and supports in the classroom around SEL development. So I'm really excited about the work that we're starting. And then with this work, we need to do a realignment of our MTSS work, because from this, from conversations around needs and areas of weakness, it has become very clear that we need to redefine and build greater understanding around what each tier of the multi-tiered systems of support looks like, means, and how it's facilitated here at Bayshore. And that is directly in alignment with the work that we are going to start with strategic planning. So I'm trying to bring things that we have out and bring it together to have an aligned focus. So I feel good about where we're starting. And the last slide is talking about some of the things that I'm looking forward to. So I've said a little bit about it, but our leadership team has had the opportunity to engage in professional development outside of school hours. So once a month, Thursday afternoons from 4 to 6:30, they engage in an online professional development through a program called Lead by Learning, wherein you create an equity focus of an aspect of learning that is happening at the school, and conduct PDSA cycles. Well, at least that's the format that we've chosen to utilize in this inquiry. And through the iReady data, one area of need that's come up is vocabulary, K-8 and across content. So this is an area that the leadership team will start to work with our staff on Wednesdays to do a deep dive in, similar to the PDSA process that has been going on with math. Along with that, I am working with the county office and the language arts and language development coordinators to kind of not piggyback, but include the to work with the coordinators to help facilitate professional development around our instructional practices for EDL. Excuse me, EDLA is one of my courses. Sorry, ELA and ELD. And then in that is to embed more consistent data input practices and assessment analysis in our Wednesday discussions. So these are some next steps that that will be implemented between now and the end of the school year. So that was a lot, but if you have questions.
Board have any questions or comments? I know it's been 5.5 months, and here we are after the winter break, and it seems like we have another 5 months to go before the school year ends, and there's a lot of work to do.
Mhm.
And but through this presentation, it's great to kind of have a sense and an idea of what we can anticipate in moving forward. Because I look back at that total 56% of 1 to 2 grade levels behind. Those numbers really scream at me, and there's a lot of concern there. But like you mentioned, it's going to take a lot as we move forward into the spring and heading towards summer. So does anyone else have any comments, questions?
I was looking at the iReady for reading, phonological awareness, phonics, high frequency words, vocabulary comprehension. I just wish that we have our own preschool and we molded those children the way how we wanted it with all these. And then those are the only children that we accept in our school.
Well, we do have a very strong preschool program.
Yes,
so
and then this
that's
is
good.
all covered. This, I'm looking at even the math. These are all parts of early child development and desired results in those standard meetings for, and no offense in the preschool because they are doing such a wonderful job. It's just really upsets me the fact of looking at this, and I'm glad my kids are not in the school. I'm really glad, but I just want to hold people accountable for this. I really do. And I need to know from today, we have this conversation. What's the timeline that we have from now that we're going to check this data again, that there is a change? If not, then we need to do something. Literally, we need to put our foot down and hold people, individuals accountable for this. Because like you say, Mr. Rudolph, what if it's the same child that since kindergarten all the way up to now, it's still haven't moved anywhere. It's still in that percentage. So that means what? That some people, and I'm not saying some people are not doing their job. I don't want to sound mean, but I don't want to beat around the bush. We can't just keep counting and say, we got a lot of work. No, we need to see what the work is. I'm just so upset to see these results. Thank you.
Well, on that note, though, I guess, yeah, I mean, it's important enough that if it's possible to include this as an agenda item monthly, and then we can get interim progress reports if possible on like the implementation of some of these programs. That'd be great.
Okay. And thank you for your presentation.
And just to put it, we're doing that already was when the kids first came back from summer. And the next one is in 2 weeks. So that data is immediately available after the kids take the test.
Oh, great.
All right, moving to our next item, superintendent reports. Superintendent goals. I'll turn this over to back over to Superintendent Beal.
Thank you. If I really love the spotlight, then these board meetings are really helpful for that kind of ego, but I don't. That is not how I roll. But happy to be in the spotlight because I am happy to be here. All right, so this is really just bringing us back together to solidify the path that we started me on in our goals discussion in December. When we had our goals discussion, there was some great response and input provided. And so I took that input, and if you recall in the weekly letter that I shared before the holiday break, I broke down exactly what it is that was changed based on the input that was given and what the edits were. And so I just wanted to get input from all of you, either a stamp of approval that these are goals that reflect what we discussed, and we can move forward with setting these as goals, or if there are additional edits or questions, I would like to hear those as well.
Do I have any questions or comments with regards to the superintendent goals?
No, I read through it and this is what exactly we discussed on the last meeting that we were discussing the goals, so we're good to go. I mean, it's good to go to my eyes.
Are we going to utilize the same cadence that's recommended in the CSBA governance calendar? Have we talked about that at all? Or just like the scheduling?
Yes, we did. I would need to pull that up. But at the meeting that we had discussing this, we talked about the fact that these goals are really from now until June. And given our strategic planning process, we anticipate that there might be some changes that we would want reflected in these goals, because they're not necessarily goals that will be done and completed by June, but rather open up for further conversation to continue those for the school year. So the timeline that CSBA recommends is that superintendent goals are established and solidified come August and then are utilized throughout the year. So the timeline the augmented timeline, I believe that we agreed to was that I would have a midterm update end of February, beginning of March, and then we would have the final evaluation process, which we still need to solidify. I do know that Trustee Avalana presented a question to me about the availability of an online evaluation tool to help with being the format that we follow. And so I anticipate that we'll have an agenda item in upcoming board meetings to talk about what the final format will look like. But we can also have closed session conversations about that. But long answer is we have a timeline of a midterm report in end of February, beginning. So at the March meeting, and then the final evaluation in June.
Sounds good. Yeah, I just wanted to confirm. I'm sure that any of the other board members had any questions
No.
following that cadence. Okay, great.
Great, thank you. All right, moving on to.
So we're
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Everybody is okay with these?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. We have 10B, ACES grant discussion.
Okay.
I'll turn this over back to you.
Thank you. So ACES stands for After School Education and Safety Program, and it's a grant that is awarded to community, to districts based on their free and reduced lunch population numbers. And as the summary says, that these programs are created through partnerships between schools and local community resources to provide literacy, academic, enrichment, and safe and constructive alternatives for students in kindergarten through ninth grade, but in our case, it would be K-8. And it would be for support in before and after school program funding. So currently, Bayshore Elementary is a recipient of a portion of ACES monies as a result of a partnership that they've established with the City of Daly City Libraries and Recreation. When you are awarded a grant, it's on a cycle. So you, I believe, have a 3-year cycle to a grant award. And then once you're awarded the grant, you don't have to reapply for a grant, you apply for a renewal of the grant. So there was history that has been explained to me. And as a result of a variety of things, there's an agreement between the City of Daly City and Bayshore Elementary for us to have the control of a proportionment of the ACES money to determine how we support our before and after school students. And so Dr. Pittman decided to use to allocate ACES monies to support after school tutoring, some before school access for supervision for our breakfast program, and to partner with Boys and Girls Club. Daly City is in the 3rd year, and so of being awarded this grant, and so they are supposed to be applying for a renewal, and they need our agreement to be a part of the renewal. But in speaking with county leaders, there is information that I can't understand based on why we entered into a partnership with the City of Daly City versus going for this grant on our own, so that we are the ones making decisions historically about funding and programming. And I've spoken, I believe, with 1 or 2 of you about the idea of us pursuing ACES grant funding in our own entity. Yes. Some of the pros for doing our own grant is that with the discussions that I've had around our work with CTE and our efforts to potentially expand our community connections with community schools, we could leverage all of these grants and create alignment and create programming that is very specific to the needs of our students, whether we look to an outside provider or build in-house support. So I would like to get your thoughts. I'm not, no disrespect, you can't direct me to do something on our own, but I would want your blessing to, if you thought it would be beneficial for us to pursue our own grant, our own ACES funding, then I am seeking your blessing. In order to do that, we would have to inform the city that we do not want to be part of their renewal. And I'm not quite sure where we stand on that, because the deadline to submit the renewal has passed and I was not asked to sign anything. So I have to figure out where we stand in that. But we do qualify to pursue grant funding on our own, and that deadline is March 30th for turning in that grant. As I said, the funding is based on our free and reduced lunch numbers, and data from 21-22 shows that we have the second highest percentage of need in our county. And there are several districts who have successfully obtained their own ACES funding who have fewer percentage numbers than we do. So, we do have qualifying criteria that would make us a viable candidate for the.
I think
For
at
the
one
grant.
time, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, in previous conversations with Dr. Pittman, she did communicate that the current arrangement is the exception. The overwhelming majority of the grants are directly allocated to school districts.
Correct.
So just as a data point for people to consider. I know, speaking personally, I would say if we qualify, it would be great for us, as you had mentioned, to have full control of the grant under our own and allocate it to the best serving our students, the needs of our students.
I agree.
I do agree, but we need to have a plan where we're going to get the resources. We need to have the resources, and we need to have those resources available and in line once the grants come in. Or is it going to be backwards? The grants gets here, and then nothing is in line to allocate the funds towards it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, no, I completely understand what you're saying.
So that's why
There
when-
needs to be a plan.
I spoke with and directly with the associate city manager, who gave me a really schooling on ACES fundings and what percentage and what amount it goes to us. And the reason why the money went to the Parks and Recs, because they were the one who brought in, who hauls in all the resources. And the bulk of the money goes to the ones who brings the resources, not the children. So a good example is that we are in the league season for basketball. Boys and Girls Club don't pay for our children to play. Park and Recs does, when we were with Park and Recs, they were paying for a team. I found out that we have about 16 right now for Bayshore. And correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody's listening, I think it's 300 something to register a team. Now that doesn't include uniforms and the coaches they don't pay the coaches. The coaches are all volunteer. Going back to what I'm saying is we can apply for that, but we need to have our ducks in a row. We can't just have the money comes and then we end up not knowing where it went, we got to make sure that those are all in a row before we have the grant.
So I agree. I totally understand and 100% agree. Currently, how it's set right now with BGCP is that they're receiving the bulk of that funding of the ACES grant, correct?
Correct.
So I think moving forward, because if we're going to take this on solely, that would be a huge part of the plan, right? And then kind of spread out the resources through all the other recreation and
Right. We still got to find people to come here and bring those resources.
Sure.
And the bulk of the money is to pay those individuals, to pay those
Mhm.
agencies.
Right.
And then it trickles down, whatever is left, down to the programs. But the top of the program is where the bulk of the money is going to go to.
I think in terms of the plan, you have to, part of the grant submission is a plan
Right.
of how you intend to utilize the money. It's not the people who are going to carry out the plan, but it's a plan. So you create your objectives, you create your goals, and you create your intentions. And then based on that, if it aligns to the criteria that the state wants, then you're awarded the grant. And then that's when you say, okay, these are the expectations that we have. Who out there, which programs, which people, with whatever, who can provide these at the level of excellence that we want them to provide? So if in our plan, we say we want a physical education or some sort of aspect that addresses the physical development of students, and we want to meet that expectation with being able to provide after-school sports programs, then that's how we would fulfill that expectation of that overall plan. And then that's when we would say we want these sports teams, we want it to be available to X, Y, and Z, et cetera. So the purpose of submitting the grant is to have an idea of what you would like to be able to provide for students.
And I believe as it stands now, we're the only school district that doesn't have our own ACES grant program in comparison to all the other
We
schools in the
do,
county.
but we do have ACES, but it was handled from the city. I think the smart thing to do, I don't know, the crunch of time, is to set an appointment with the city manager that we have right now, the interim, and then sit down with him and kind of go over with it how the money is broken down, what I'm saying is this good relationship that we have with Parks and Rec is that they already know the resources are out there. I'm not saying that we should give it all back to them, but we should have that communication with them to share the well with us. Sharing is caring.
Sure. And I think that those are possibilities,
Right.
I think that they're endless and that there's no limitation to that. So it's just a matter of whether or not the school district is going to solely be responsible for that ACES grant. And that's what I would agree with in this situation.
Instead of meeting with Tom Piccolotti, we'll put his name out there.
I met him.
It's cool.
All righty. Anyone else have any comments or any questions? Great. So we're good with
Yes, I will. Well,
So-
my takeaway is that you're all in agreement and having us pursue our own ACES grant, but to keep communications open with people who
Right.
have been utilizing this resource and see what is out there for providers,
Yeah, we
options for providers.
don't want to burn those bridges. We want to keep that.
Sure, yeah. And that's part of building community as well.
Right.
All right. Moving to the next item, 10C, trustee appointment process updates.
Okay, so yesterday at 5 p.m. was the deadline for any interested candidate to submit their interest sheet / application for consideration for our provisional appointment process. We received 2 applications. We have confirmed that both applicants live within our district boundaries, so they are viable applicants. And CSBA says that a less than quorum trustee group should review the applications and confirm that these are applicants that we want to move forward to the interview process. So I shared the applications with Trustee Rudolph and Trustee Avalana, and would like to hear if these are candidates that you feel comfortable moving forward to the interview process that will take place at a regular board meeting next week on the 18th.
I feel comfortable. Yeah, both of them meet the minimum requirements.
Yeah, definitely. I had an opportunity to speak with both, as a matter of fact, and I think it would be a great opportunity to take this interview process and be present. I think that's a great idea.
Okay, so next steps will be I will contact the candidates and let them know they're moving forward to the interview process. The board meeting is on the 18th traditionally, and which is
Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Yeah.
So traditionally, we post our agendas on Friday. And so I will be posting the agenda, which will have the interview agenda item and the candidates info sheets posted for the community to have access to. I will also connect with all of you to confirm the interview, questions and process and how those questions will be asked. Similar to the process that we had for our first failure to elect appointment process that we held earlier. And we will engage in a public meeting for those interviews.
All right, we're looking forward to that.
Can in the future, can somebody look into those questions again for the candidates, not the interview questions, but the questions that were sent out there for whoever is interested. Honestly, if I wasn't even in school or anything, I would it was just it was too expensive for anybody's learning. It was not inviting for me to give me oh, I want to go do that. It was so in court, it was so difficult.
Sure.
To maybe simplify it a little bit to attract the individual. Okay, I'll go. But this one is you kill the mold, you kill it right there before they even come on board. So maybe just check out those questions again. I don't know.
And that's specifically, you're talking about the info sheet, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I think in the future that we can put that on the agenda, discuss that.
Those are really good questions, but maybe not for that purpose.
All right. All right, number 11, board member reports. Does anyone have any reports that they would like to share? I'll start with Papua.
Go ahead.
I just have a lot of thoughts going through my head right now. And just today, when I opened up the email from Rocio Bowman about, I think it's reading across America. I think that is a great idea. I already said I'm signing up. I think it's a good program, and that I hope that it's going out to the parents as well, that they could also participate in reading. Is it reading to the students? I need to talk.
Yes.
I need to talk to Rocio. I just got
Yes.
the email and opened it up, and I said, what a great idea to invite parents.
That's a good idea. Instead of the city officials and all the, invite the parents. Come read it to their children. A child will even be happy to see their own parents,
Exactly.
not me.
They love to see you too. And I don't know if we skipped over midway developments. Is that part of the,
It was a consent item.
That was consent.
okay, so then we can talk about,
If you wanted to bring it.
I don't
particular
wanna-
comments, okay.
so thank you.
All right.
Well, it's glad to have you back, Ms. Brown, and that you're recovering very well. And congratulations again today, being on board with us.
I made it. I was like speaking to Rick. Oh, can we do virtually? And I maybe can reach out to Marcus, even at this late state. But I feel good here. It worked. It
Glad
worked
you're
for
here.
me. Thank you.
The Christmas driveway was really nice. It was still recovering from it. It was nice to see Miss Veal, Miss Baker, some of the staff that were there. It was Miss Veal came over and just, went away with it. We have a lot of firefighters. They were here enjoying with the families. Thank you again for allowing us to be in the building and able to do that for our community.
Was that yesterday?
No, that was last year.
The fifth,
Last December.
Yes.
Christmas.
Christmas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, there was something going on at the school the other night, and I was wondering what that was.
I'm not sure.
Lots of people.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. It's basketball season. I would like us to challenge us to go there and watch our students and cheer for them. Now they allow everybody to come in to now.
Yeah.
Before it was just one person per family to come and cheer for your child. So maybe shooting out the schedule to the board members, the basketball.
Matter of fact, I do have a schedule and I can give that to you, share it with the rest of the
Thank
group.
you.
Yeah.
This Saturday, I'll be at the Niners.
Nice. I loved your picture. From
Yeah.
The last game. Your selfie.
That's it. Thank you very much.
No, I'd just like to reiterate that, yeah, big thanks to IT for putting on the toy drive. I wasn't able to attend this year, unfortunately, to travel schedules, but so happy to have them and what they do for the community. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you everyone for, I want to echo what everyone's mentioned. Thank Pitt. I'm glad everyone had this opportunity to take a long break. I think it was much needed for everyone to reflect on these past few years, as a matter of fact, but more so the past few months. It's been pretty hectic. The storm had really made its way into our area, and I'm sure everybody has been, in a situation or another where it's like, oh my God, am I even prepared? But it's great to see everyone's healthy. Everyone's back at school. The students are excited. I actually get a sense that they're excited to be back. But again, it's nice seeing everyone, and I want to thank everyone this evening. And if there's anything you'd like to add.
I just would like to give a special shout out to Mr. Dyson, who created our board commercial. I don't know if y'all saw that.
Thank you. That was awesome.
But I thought
I don't know if we can get an Oscar for that one.
editing.
Production Oscar. That's it. Yeah, thank you so much. I was real surprised when I saw that. I didn't even expect it. I thought I was going to have an opportunity to do a do-over. I didn't have the makeup person come in or anybody.
Right.
I was just like, okay.
Oh.
But no, thank you so much, Mr. Dyson. That was very well put together. Again, thank you, everyone. The board will adjourn open session, and we'll take a 5-minute break and reconvene into closed session. Is there a motion and a second to adjourn open session?
I motion.
I second.
There we go.